It's an everyday thing, it's an everyday thing, it's an everyday thing when you let your nuts hang. What it do, everyday people, man? It's your boy PJ. Today we back with another lit video, back in the confessional, and yeah, we staying lit, big dog. Shout out to my everyday people who rock with me every day, and shout out to the homie Lucky Wheels Deals, man. He keeping it lit. Shout out to Hyena Squad. Make sure y'all go subscribe to her channel, take a screenshot, and send it to Everyday Thing with PJ on Instagram. And you'll be entered to win a free pair of shoes when she gets 1,000 subscribers. So shout out to her. Now shout out to the Wolfpack of Cool Kids, the CJ So Cool and the So Cool fam. We finally got a guilty plea, and this man has been sentenced. Y'all see the man on the screen, Derrick Roberts. Yeah, he is one of the co-conspirators that set up CJ for the robbery, the shooting, and all the other nonsense that they was out there doing. Yes, but this is the only one that he's being convicted of. Why? Because he didn't take part in all the other crimes. But we're going to hear about Mr. Derrick Roberts' past and hear his remorse. And we're also going to hear from CJ So Cool himself. Now, he's not in a courtroom, so don't get it twisted. But he has wrote a letter, and we're going to get to that letter. And it's a pretty good letter, so I want y'all to hear it out. So let's get into it. It's a long video. We're going to react to this whole thing, all right?
With firearms, broke into his home in the dead of night.
Page 17, Derrick Roberts, C371483.
Morning, Mary. Reports for the state.
Mary Brown, bar number 6947, on behalf of Mr. Roberts, who's present in custody.
This is the time of the sentencing. Are the parties ready to proceed?
Yeah.
We are, Your Honor. Just a quick note. I know we filed a speaker notice for Cordero Brady, the victim in this case. I was in good contact with him up until yesterday about coming to speak. He wrote this morning. I think just mentally and emotionally, it's a bit too much for him to come down and speak.
Sure.
He did send a letter
Okay.
that I asked that I be allowed to read at the end as if it was him speaking. I did share it with Ms. Brown so she could review it in case she had any issues prior.
Any objections?
So if you can't really hear what he's saying clearly, because he's talking a little low, he's basically saying CJ, up until this moment, he wanted CJ to come down and talk to the judge and the jury and give, or not the jury, but talk to the judge and give his own emotional, heartfelt feelings towards what happened to him. But again, CJ, he said he wasn't emotionally ready to do so. And this could be hard on a lot of people as a victim, but he did write a letter, and we'll get into that.
No.
Okay, that's how I proceed then, Mr. Ports. I did review your sentencing memorandum, Mr. Ports, as well as I reviewed Ms. Brown's sentencing memorandum as well.
Thank you.
So I understand the facts of this case are very well known to the court by now. That the defendants in this case and his co-conspirator, they specifically targeted this victim, Mr. Cordero Brady, that they planned out this attack long in advance, that they armed themselves with firearms, broke into his home in the dead of night, and then attacked him in his own bedroom. And when he resisted, they shot him multiple times and nearly killed him. The crimes committed in this case were egregious, they were unnecessarily violent, and they violate one of the most sacred spaces that we as a society recognize, which is someone's own home. Now, I know Your Honor knows this from your years of criminal practice as well as your time on the bench. Home invasions are particularly terrifying crimes. It's bad enough when the victim isn't home to know that someone broke into your personal space, but it takes a particularly violent and criminally minded individual to specifically target and attack a home when you know the victim is inside. To use that fear to your advantage, to extract additional information from your victim, to get information on where the valuables are. And that's exactly what the defendant and his co-conspirators did in this case. And we know that from text messages that they were sending to their other co-conspirator, Raven Queen, on the night of the attack, that they knew that his cars were in the residence, that they had moved the security cameras, that prior to breaking in, they texted Raven Queen that he's asleep, we're going in now. And then when they get into the house, they don't just rummage through what's on the bottom. They break in through a glass door, and then they go up 2 flights of stairs to the 3rd floor, break into his bedroom, and then attack him. So
sounds like to me they was scoping out the house the whole time, and they knew he was asleep. That's crazy. I don't know if y'all heard that, but if y'all didn't hear it, rewind it. Y'all can hear it again.
I think, the purpose of this memo and what we want to convey, because I know that the facts are well known to you, is exactly how kind of terrifying this night was for this victim. And you're going to hear, again, his statements and how it's kind of affected his life and his family's life. But, I think nothing can speak more clearly to it than the pictures we provided from the crime scene, which is on page 4 of our memo. And it looks like something out of a horror film. There's bloody footprints on every floor, in every room, up and down every stair. And what does that tell you was going through Cordero Brady's mind that night? He's been attacked in his bed. He's been shot twice in both legs. He has a broken femur, and despite his blood loss and the pain he must be going through, he's still so scared that the defendant and his co-conspirators are still in his home, waiting to attack him, that he walks on that broken leg with all that blood loss through each and every room and up and down those stairs. These pictures convey more than I could ever tell the court up here about how terrifying this particular event was for Mr. Brady. The other thing that we wanted to make clear through this prosecution memo, or through the sentencing memo, is that the defendant is not just someone who was brought along to commit these crimes. He wasn't unwillingly or unknowingly duped into committing these crimes. He was an active participant and a key player in everything that happened that night. You can see through the text messages between him and Defendant McDuffie of them planning well in advance to commit this crime, of him reaching out to McDuffie, who, by the way, is a juvenile, to ask him to acquire guns for him. A felon who's twice convicted for prior residential burglaries in the state of California is asking a juvenile who's sending him pictures of guns to bring them to him, to help him restore his, he goes by the moniker Ruthless, to help him restore his ruthless name, which is exactly what he's trying to do when he commits these crimes with these co-conspirators. We know from the video surveillance and social media images from McDuffie as well that he doesn't just stay in the car, he's not the getaway driver, he picks everyone up, but he's also seen on camera with his other co-conspirators going to the victim's house, and then after the shooting takes place, fleeing back to his car where they drive away.
Damn.
I'd also note for the court, on top of all the sophisticated degree of planning for this case, he also, when we got his phone after he was arrested, had deleted the contents of his phone. The images, the texts, etc. that we found on McDuffie's phone that was left at the crime scene are no longer on his phone. So he's actively, even after the fact, attempting to hide his role in all of this. This is someone who is well versed in residential burglaries. Again, first-degree burglary in the state of California is residential burglary. Twice convicted of that on 2 separate occasions, once while he was on parole. And then he comes to this state, commits these crimes, victimizes people in this fashion, and asks for probation. The state's position is when you consider what the factors that we look at in sentencing, you look at his criminal history, you look at his character, and you look at the damage that he caused and the crimes that he and his friends committed, that an 8 to 20 year sentence is absolutely appropriate. It is by no means, just because it's where we have capped ourselves, it is by no means the maximum sentence that Mr. Roberts should or could be facing at this point in time, but it is a fair and just sentence given all these factors. We'll submit on that.
Thank you, Mr. Ports. Turning to you, Ms.
Dang, man. So this dude just got out of prison now for doing 9 years for robberies, home invasions. Okay, he wanted to get his ruthless name back. That's what he said he wanted. And then, what else did he say? Oh man, I mean, it was just so much in that. And he's one of the planners. He planned the whole thing out. He told a juvenile to go get guns. This dude is like 30-something years old. Like, dude, man, or maybe he's 28. I think he's like 28. I don't know, but the dude is an idiot, man. He's a crash dummy, and he's going exactly where he needs to go. He ain't had no life skills. He's just a little boy who don't want to go out and work for his own stuff, so he want to steal it from everybody else. Man, you're not a coward. You're a scumbag. A coward is somebody who's scared to do something. But you better take this time on the chin. But he won't. We're gonna hear his little scary guilty plea, man. Come on, man. You just got out for doing 9 years. You committed another burglary on parole. Man, come on, man.
Your Honor, first I'd like to note that my client's girlfriend is 38 weeks pregnant, and she's here in support of my client for sentencing.
Bro, and you got a woman that is 38 weeks pregnant. Bro, she about to have a baby, and you go commit. That baby don't need you. That baby do not need you.
Also, her older sister is here to support her and Derrick. My client's name is Derrick Roberts, and I'm asking this court not to judge him exclusively on the worst day of his life. Derrick was raised in a single-parent home with no male role model and learned his male role modeling from the streets. He was in an IEP from the day he started school. He was in special education. He was diagnosed, and on top of that, he was diagnosed with ADHD. So he does need some support in terms of decision-making and that sort of thing. He's been on Zoloft for both anxiety and depression. In 2014 and 2015, 9 years ago, my client was arrested for burglaries. He spent 9 years in prison. His entire adult life was spent in prison for 2 mistakes due to the California sentencing structure that is just unbelievable, that a young man at the age of 18 would be spending 9 years in prison because of their strikes laws. When he got out, he worked extremely hard to pull his life together. He came here, he developed a relationship with his girlfriend, he was working, he was doing extraordinarily well. He had broken ties with the bad things in his past. His girlfriend got pregnant, somehow his past reached out to him, and he made a terrible choice. I've got nothing to say about the incident that happened and how that might have impacted the victim. It was terrible. But what I would note is, you know, when you read the sentencing memo and when you listen to Mr. Ports, he says, they do, they do, they do. My client is the only one of all of these who gave a statement saying exactly what happened. He can, you know, he didn't tell on anybody. I don't want to give that kind of impression, but he owned his responsibility for what happened. And he came forward, and there is no evidence that he was a shooter. There is no, and in fact, he denies that today. There is, you know, his position was that he was outside and he did assist, but he was not a perpetrator. That's what he's always said from the beginning. He has had a tremendously challenging life. He's doing the best he can. He wants to be there for his baby, who's going to be born in the next 2 weeks. Mr. Roberts asks you to please confirm.
Bro, you should have thought about your kid before you committed this robbery. Like, you do not give a damn about your kid. You don't give a damn about your woman. You don't give a damn about yourself. Because at that moment, you was being selfish and selfless. And you got some other minors and this other woman all involved in this home invasion and multiple other ones. Now, I don't know if you had anything to do with the other ones, because this is the only one you're being sentenced on. So that, knowing you had something to do with you probably didn't have something to do with those other ones. But this one right here, bro, it doesn't matter. You don't get off the hook just because you having a baby. You should have thought about that baby before you took your ass out there to CJ's house.
Consider probation, that these felonies are probationable. If the court's going to impose a prison term, I would ask for something along the lines of 2 to 5 or 3 to 8, so that he will be able to be the man that he needs to be for his young child who's going to be brought into this world potentially without a father.
He gonna have to be the man behind bars, because his woman, just know your woman is gonna be getting stuffed down by another man while you in prison, because your stupid behind want to go and rob somebody while your girlfriend is pregnant. And let me tell you, she may be 38 weeks today, but she was a good 4 or 5 months at the time. So you knew, because it's now May. So that was 4 months ago. So she was a good 5 months.
Without that male role model that he was missing when he was growing up. And, you know, instead of continuing the cycle, he wants to be there. He wants to be the man that his child is going to need. And so based on that, we're going to ask for either probation or a 2 to 5, 3 to 8 kind of sentence that will allow him to return back to the community and to his family.
Mr. Roberts,
Keep
I'll
this
tell
dude
you,
out the
it's
community.
really hard to reconcile the person that your family and friends describe with the person that I see in the text messages who's setting these things up. I do want to give you an opportunity to talk to me, though, before I sentence you in this matter.
First, I want to apologize that you even had to deal with this situation. Like my lawyer says, I did kind of grow up hard. I'm not going to make no excuse for myself, nor the decisions that I made. But I am truly remorseful for the things that I have done. And I took in the 3 months that I have been in here and tried to just focus on myself and figure out what is my problem, like what problems I do have to fix myself going forward. I do have a baby girl on the way, and I wouldn't want her to miss out on the person that I know I am, not somebody that I portrayed to be, even to my friends or whoever else. Like, just the person that I truly am, Derrick, not ruthless, not some other moniker or anything like that. So, with all that being said, I truly am sorry for the things that did happen and scaring the community, because the household, that is something tragic. That is something that shouldn't be taken lightly. I'm not going to minimize it or anything like that.
Bro, I don't even care about what you saying. I'm gonna finish listening to it, but all I'm saying is, big dog, you should have thought about your daughter before you went and did this crime. That your daughter should have been the first thing on your mind, not this mess.
I do just ask for mercy, you know, not even for just me, for my daughter, you know, and that's pretty much it. Thank you.
The judge looked at him and
Just
said,
given the level of planning and what I see in this crime specifically, this isn't something that is appropriate for probation. It pains me in any way to separate you from your family, because I know family is sacrosanct, but at the same time, this is a situation where Mr. Brady's castle, the home that he worked so hard for with his family, was that piece was shattered, and I don't know how he ever gets that back.
And I don't want to interrupt, Your Honor.
Oh, I
but
apologize. You did have a letter.
I just want to make sure you put that on.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'll read that.
here's the letter
I
from
wrote this
CJ.
to speak in front of the court, and all night I couldn't sleep because this was the first time anything like this has happened to me, and it's not as easy as it seems now that the day is here for me to face the shooters in my home invasion. I'm too afraid to stand in the courtroom in front of them and their potentially dangerous family and friends, and so even though I wrote this, I'm too afraid to come to speak. My name is Cordero Brady. Some of you may know me better as CJ So Cool. I am a father of 3 beautiful children who mean the world to me. Thankfully, my kids were not home when I was viciously attacked and robbed of not only my belongings, but my peace of mind. In the wake of this incident, I have suffered mentally, physically, and financially. My business has suffered. I'm a content creator and digital storyteller that didn't know how to be transparent with my loyal audience about something so painful. People rely on me for inspiration, empowerment, and entertainment, none of which I could offer from the recovery room in the hospital or a house where I was brutally assaulted. Despite the implementation of extreme and expensive security measures in the house where I was attacked, it became evident that I needed to find a new home that could offer safety from ignorant and preventable violence such as this. In fact, I attempted to move into a home nearby to offer some stability for my children, but was unable to stay there due to the incessant feeling that it was not safe enough. As a result, I found a new place to live, but can't escape the feeling of impending doom, which I'm reminded of every time I try to run in the yard with my twins. I can't play with them like I used to because I was shot in and sustained a chronic injury causing extreme pain in my right or left leg. I'm reminded of it every time my 11-year-old asks if I locked the door, the same 11-year-old who has spent the last 5 months having nightmares about her father being attacked. But my purpose today isn't to tell you about the way this has inconvenienced and disturbed me or my kids. My purpose is to ensure that the criminal who has inflicted immeasurable pain on myself and the others is brought to justice. Any lenience toward his sentencing would be a travesty of justice and disruption to the community of Henderson. This could have been anyone, and so long as he's free, it could be anyone, regardless of their demographics or status. I truly believe this type of evil does not discriminate. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Does not discriminate. Damn, good luck,
Overall,
CJ.
weighing everything, I've considered your history, and I've considered your remorse, and I've considered what you've agreed to, as well as contrasted that with what the victim himself has gone through. I'm going to sentence you as follows. In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, there's first going to be that you're judged guilty of conspiracy to commit robbery, and battery with use of a deadly weapon resulting in substantial bodily harm, all felonies. It will impose a $25 administrative assessment fee, $3 DNA collection fee, $150 DNA fee, and the fact you must submit genetic marker testing. On count 1, you are sentenced to 28 to 72 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections. On count
28 to 72 months. That's 2 years and 4 months to 72 months, which is 6 years. So that's a 2 to 6. That's not bad. 2 to 6, not bad.
2, you are sentenced to 3 to 8 years in the Nevada Department of Corrections. That is
3 to 8 years. So he got a 2 to 6 and a 3 to 8.
one concurrent to
And running concurrent, that's his best bet. So here's the thing about the 2 to 6 and 3 to 8. He's going to discharge the 2 to 6 before he discharged the 3 to 8. So he can parole off of the 2 to 6 whenever their parole guidelines are met. He'll still have that 3 to 8 that he'll have to wait till to meet those parole guidelines before he can go up for parole. But it's still available to him, you know, at some point. So that's up until the 8 years.
count 1. On count 2, you are sentenced to 3 to 10 years in the Nevada Department of Corrections.
3 to 10 years. So if this is running concurrent, it stretched from 2 to 6 to 3 to 10. So he can be up in jail up to 10 years.
Consecutive to count 2.
And that's consecutive. So he has to do the first. I mean, y'all gotta hear this again. Y'all gotta hear this again. I'm cutting it off, but
Genetic marker testing. On count 1, you are sentenced to 28 to 72 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections. On count 2, you are sentenced to 3 to 8 years in the Nevada Department of Corrections. That is to run concurrent to count 1. On count 2, you are sentenced to 3 to 10 years in the Nevada Department of Corrections consecutive to count 2. The aggregate sentence is 6 to 18 years in the Nevada Department of Corrections. You have 110 days credit time served.
damn, 6 to 18 years. So he got to do is his 2 to 6 and 3 to 10, right? After he finishes that, so that could be 10 years. That could be up to 10 years, 3 to 10 years. After he does that, we gotta get the facts.
8 years in the Nevada Department of Corrections. That is to run concurrent to count 1. On count 2, you are sentenced to 3 to 10 years in the Nevada Department of Corrections consecutive to count 2. The aggregate sentence is 6 to 18 years in the Nevada Department of Corrections. You have 110 days credit time served for that sentence.
Damn, 6 to 18 years. So, whew, so he got to do the 3 to 6. Then after he does the 3 to 6, he got to do the oh man, hold on. Let me hear that again. I got to get all these years.
$25 administrative assessment fee, $3 DNA collection fee, $150 DNA fee, and the fact you must submit genetic marker testing. On count 1, you are sentenced to 28 to 72 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections. On count 2, you are sentenced to 3 to 8 years in the Nevada Department of Corrections. That is to run concurrent to count 1. On count 2, you are sentenced to 3 to 10 years in the Nevada Department of Corrections consecutive to count 2.
So he got a 3 to 6, which he got to do 3 to 6 years. Then he got a parole from that one and start his next count, which is the 3 to 10. So he got another. So it's basically 6 to 18 years. Damn, he got to do. He's going to do 6 years no matter what. But he can't finish his first. He can't take his second sentence until he finishes the first one. Let me hear that one more time, just for those in the back.
DNA collection fee, $150 DNA fee, and the fact you must submit genetic marker testing. On count 1, you are sentenced to 28 to 72 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections. On count 2, you are sentenced to 3 to 8 years in the Nevada Department of Corrections. That is to run concurrent to count 1. On count 2, you are sentenced to 3 to 10 years in the Nevada Department of Corrections consecutive to count 2. The aggregate sentence is 6 to 18 years in the Nevada Department of Corrections. You have 110 days credit time served for that sentence.
Damn, that's cold.
Thank you.
6 to 18 years. You gone, big
We
dog.
have Mr. Hill, attorney. Sure.
What does that mean? Like consecutive? Like put it all together?
I'll explain it, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll give Ms. Brown an opportunity to talk to you about it if you have questions. The advocate sentence is what I pronounced last.
He said, what it mean by consecutive, dog? It means you gonna be in there for a long time. Everyday people, man, let me know what y'all think in the comments. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. I'm gonna holler at you later. Peace.